Welcome to Communication Station, where we discuss science backed communication tools for delivering the whole life healing framework. My name is Karla Cauldwell. I am a nurse, health coach, and the founder of the Whole Life Healing Framework. I'm really excited to talk to you today about the second stop in our communication process. The first stop is all about creating safety. The second stop is about addressing meaning. And if we are serious about supporting our patients to have the best outcomes possible, we cannot move forward in the visit until we've addressed meaning. I just want to remind you that the tools I am speaking to are effective when managing preventable conditions. So, this is not appropriate in emergency situations. When it's appropriate to use the tools we discuss in Communication Station is when we're supporting our patients to manage and prevent the bulk of disease which was created through health behaviors. For example, most type 2 diabetes, many cancers, most heart conditions like heart disease, COPD, liver conditions. Anytime your patient benefits from improving their health behaviors, it is an excellent time to use the tools we discuss in Communication Station. Why? Because these tools are created to elicit your patient's motivation and buy in, which is absolutely essential for your patient to want, desire, and put effort into making positive change. This is significant because in the current medical model, employ a find it, fix it. We tell, we educate, and a lot of times we find ourselves in very frustrating situations where we're seeing the same patients over and over again, and they're not getting better. This is why we need to employ the skills we learn in Communication Station. All right, enough about all of that. Let's get to stop two. Stop two is all about meaning. So, this is really important because this is your patient's buy in. This is what matters most. This is what will motivate them to make those positive health behavior changes. I didn't always use this method. I used to, as a nurse, tell, try to fix, try to save, educate forever and a day. And it was very frustrating to me that most of the time my patients weren't improving. And I had one patient in particular that I just didn't understand. I would make home visits. She was 54 years old. And when I'd show up at her house, there were all the signs that she was able to do positive things for her health, meaning that she had a garden. It didn't look kept, but I know she had a garden. She had exercise equipment in her home, bookshelves filled with books. Some of them were about health. She was very knowledgeable. All the signs were indicating that change was possible. And I kept returning to her home, just giving her suggestions like, what if you try, I'd see the treadmill on the side, like, why don't you start on your treadmill? Or I'd see a video, that's a great exercise video. Why don't you start there? And we never got anywhere. Some of her challenges were she had uncontrolled diabetes, she had experienced a stroke, she had anxiety, depression, and she had trouble maintaining taking her medications. It was a lot of challenges and things weren't getting better. Lucky for me, I ended up going to a motivational interviewing class, which forever changed me. And one of the things that I found was that if I did not support my patient to identify what matters to them, what they want to work on, what they're interested in, s- and just treat my patient like a partner, someone who's an expert of themselves. I have expertise, they're an expert of themselves. I'm not going to get far. And one of the things I decided to try was I hadn't asked her what mattered to her. And I also hadn't asked her what she wanted to work on. I hadn't done that. So on my next home visit, I asked her, "Why do you want your health?" And she said, "I want to get my granddaughter back. And I can't get her back unless I show the courts that my health is stable, both my mental and physical health." Oh my goodness. I didn't even know she had a granddaughter. And I had been to her home several times. I didn't know that this is what she wanted. And so then I asked her, "Okay, well, we know that you're having trouble taking your medications on time and that your blood sugars have been unstable. I'm hearing from you that what you want your health for is you want your granddaughter back. Where should we start? What is one small thing that will support you working towards your best health?" And her answer shocked me. It had nothing to do with food or her garden or her exercise equipment or her books or going to her um actually it had a little bit to do with her books. I'm going to tell you in just a second. She said, "I need to go to the library. It's been weighing on me. I owe fees and I am not able to check out books. That brings me a lot of joy. I think if I did that, I'd feel better and I'd feel a little more motivated about me and taking care of my health." I was not expecting that at all. I hadn't, as a nurse, made that connection. But I was like, "Okay, I've tried everything else. My way's not working. I'm gonna stick with the motivational interviewing." So, I learned more about what was unsettling to her. She had accrued some fines a year ago. She was afraid that the amount was so high that she wouldn't be able to pay it back. There was a lot of stories going on in her head, and I just asked her, um 'cause I was curious, "Do you know that 100% sure that you owe a whole bunch of money? Have you asked?" She said, "No." And I just asked her, "What's your next best step?" She said, just to go to the library and ask. That's it." Great. So, she set a SMART goal that within the next 7 days before my next, house visit, she was gonna visit the library, and all she was gonna do was she was gonna go up to the front desk, give her name, and ask how much she owed and what would need to happen for her to get her card back. Oh my gosh. Well, she did it. And what she found out is she owed, I don't remember the exact amount, but it was less than $15, and she was able to pay it, and she was pleasantly surprised it wasn't this huge amount that she thought it would be, and they reinstated her card. She was so excited. She got a few books, and she was just so proud, and I was so excited because as a nurse, I had never thought to address things this way. And what ended up happening with her is that we now talked about her granddaughter and how what would she have to do to stabilize her health to be able to get her granddaughter back. And she kept making small changes. And most of the time, she was picking things that I wouldn't have thought to pick, but it all made sense to her. Fixing that library card, getting books. It motivated her to start moving to one of her next goals was actually to start working on her garden outside, which ended up leading to her eating better. It just, she started feeling much better, started interacting with her mental health team. She started taking her medications on time. It wasn't perfect, but it was way more movement than before when I was telling her what to do and educating her. That's when I saw the value of meaning. So, I want to share with you what are some things that you can do in that second stop of communication station. You have created, so that first stop, you create safety. Your patient feels safe. You've built rapport. And now we're to that second stop, meaning. What do you do? Well, I'm going to give you two questions that are high yielding and some parameters for if those two questions don't work. You can start with what matters most to you. That's a very powerful question. Now, I find that sometimes that question works great, and sometimes it doesn't land with patients. So I want you to be prepared with a follow-up. If you get a strange look or I don't know, I've never been asked that before, you can follow it up with right away with why do you want your health? Why is it important for you to be healthy? It's a different way of asking it. And I find that when people don't respond to the what matters most, they most always respond to why do you want your health? Why is it important for you to be healthy? And whatever they share with you, reflect it back. So when my patient said, my granddaughter is what matters most and getting her back is what matters most, I reflected it back by saying, okay, your granddaughter is what means most to you, and you want to get healthy so that you can get her back, so you can show the courts that you are mentally and physically stable. And then give a moment for your patient to either affirm, yes, that's it, or to either add more or correct you. What are you going to do with that information? That information is going to be an active part of the healthcare plan from this moment moving forward. And what you're going to do with that information is you're going to revisit it every part of the patient care visit. So, as you're creating a plan, you start with we know that we need our patient's motivation, not our motivation. So you might start with asking, okay, your granddaughter is what means most to you. That's what matters most to you, excuse me. What's one small thing that you can do to improve your health so that you can get your granddaughter back? What's that one small thing? And whatever they name, support your patient to create a SMART goal. So to move from idea to action. If they tell you, I need to be more physically active, that's an idea. You're going to coach your patient to make a specific, measurable, action oriented, realistic, time sensitive statement, a SMART goal. And you're going to again ask your patient, how will this benefit what matters most to you if you complete this goal? Now, there are times that actually, I imagine every patient visit, there are things you need to accomplish that are important for you as a clinician. And I don't want you to ignore that. I'm just asking you to have a shared visit where your patient is setting a goal that makes sense to them. And if you have a goal for your patient, You want to coach your patient to, on their own, understand why that will benefit what matters most to them. So, for example, this patient that I was working with, she had her things she wanted to do, like work on her garden. She wanted to go to the library, and I, as her nurse, really wanted to support her to bring down her blood sugars. I thought that was really, really important. So I would ask her questions like, "What is your awareness of um, why your blood sugars are high? What contributes to that? What do you understand?" So that I could identify what she knew or didn't know. And I would bring up her granddaughter. That's what matters most to her. So I said, "I know that what matters most to you is getting back your granddaughter and showing the courts that you've stabilized your health. And an important part of that is stabilizing your blood sugars. So I want to help you with that. You've shared with me that you know X, Y, and Z. Is it okay if I share something that you didn't name that I think would be very helpful?" So we're asking permission. And that's when I do my education. So before all of this, I used to just lead with the, "Your blood sugars are high. You need to do this." And then I'd bring my hands out and I show her and I'd say, "Okay, so this next week, will you check your blood sugars and will you do this?" And she'd nod. It's very common for people to nod and say yes, and it doesn't mean they're going to do it. So this was really different. This was me tailoring an intervention that connects to what matters most to her. And now that I'm giving her information, I can now ask her, "Okay, now that you know that this would help you lower your blood sugar, what are you willing to do in the next 7 days? What's one small thing you can do to help lower your blood sugars?" And so she can pick her goal. And again, I'm going to go back to stop number two, meaning I'm going to remind her, stabilizing your blood sugars will help you meet your goal of getting your granddaughter back. And what's even more powerful than me verbalizing that is asking her, "What is your understanding of what you're going to do in the next 7 days to lower your blood sugar? How will that help you to get your granddaughter back?" Because it's very powerful when she, with her own words, verbalizes that. Um, One of the things we ended up working on was different food choices. So at one point, she had picked that she was going to increase her healthy proteins. And so she said, "If I eat more protein, it will help to stabilize my blood sugars. And ultimately, that's what I want. So I can show the courts that I'm physically stable and able to get my granddaughter back." Great. I hope this is helpful because as soon as I learned this process and started integrating it into my practices with the patients that I take care of, with the staff that I take care of, it changed everything. When it comes to positive health behavior change, if your patient is driving that change, they're more likely to have better outcomes and success. So we change our way of operating, knowing that most of us, I'm a nurse. So in nursing school, I learned symptom management, assessing, fixing, stabilizing. I didn't learn prevention. I didn't learn to how to evoke my patients' motivation and coach them so that they can create lasting change, so they can integrate positive health behavior change. And now I do, and it makes all the difference because if you work in outpatient, the bulk of what you are seeing is preventable. So it's very important that we hone these skills. I hope you will share this with anyone who benefits. Let me know in the comments if you try any of um, let me know if you ask your patient about meaning, if you try integrating it the into your patient care sessions. I'm rooting for your success times 1,000. Thank you so much for joining. Have a great day.